All right, welcome to tonight's live Power Hour. My name is Andy. I am a five-star diamond coach. I've been coaching for about a little over 4 years now. For me, in a snippet, my journey started with the fitness side of things in a major way. I had never had success losing weight and keeping it off ever in my entire life. Insert my first T25 challenge pack and challenge group that changed my life. It took me about 6 months to jump on board with coaching. And at that point, just being a product of the product, it was so easy for me in the beginning because it was like I saw the best movie ever and I just wanted to tell everybody about it. So my business grew pretty organically in the beginning, and it still luckily is going strong, and it's been a heck of a ride. And part of what I have to say that has worked so well for me is consistency. Consistency in doing this, what we're about to do right now, has paid off tremendously. So even though I said it was kind of easy for me in the beginning, it's not like my business just went from 0 to 1,000. It definitely took watching people who were coaches longer than me doing it well and doing exactly what they were doing. So as soon as I learned about the Power Hour, I implemented it. So of course my Power Hour over the last 4 years has kind of changed. I went from doing coaching while also working nights, and I had 2 kids at the time, a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old, and now I have done this through another pregnancy and my 4th pregnancy now that I'm almost at the end of. So I really like to show my team that this isn't something that has to take a lot of time every day, but you have to give it time every day, at least a little bit, at least your Power Hour, and be consistent with sharing your journey and your passion with it every day. And that's what works. So now I am a full-time Beachbody coach, but really I'm a full-time mom because I've got all these kids. I no longer work at the hospital, but I still do my Power Hour typically at between 5:30 to 6:30 in the morning. I do not count my workout in my Power Hour, and I also do not count checking in with my groups. And I'll tell a little bit about how I schedule that out as well. But one of the first things I do when I wake up is my personal development. And I really like to read something biblically based, faith-based, as well as something that's going to jack me up and get me excited and in the right mindset to help people. And I spend about 10 minutes a day doing that. And then I also right away snap a couple pictures of what I'm reading, and I upload them to IG stories. That's like the first thing I do at 5:30 in the morning, my PD, share it on IG stories, and then I move on. So that takes me about 10 minutes of my Power Hour. So I'm not going to time that part today because I'm sure you've already done your personal development. But I just wanted to say that that's what I do. So from then on, my goal is always to get my Power Hour done first thing, because I've always been in the mindset that as long as I do those things, that's like a vital behavior for me. Being a product of the product, of course, I'm going to do my workout and drink the shake. Like that's like the easiest thing. I can't stand it when my challenges are like, oh, I didn't work out today, so I didn't drink my shake. I'm like, oh, makes no sense. Those don't get counted in my Power Hour. They just are part of my life. And so as long as I know that I got my Power Hour done from 5:30 to 6:30 in the morning, if my day gets crazy, which it does with my kids, at least I know that's done. At least I've reached out to people and done all the things. Throughout the rest of my day, I'm doing all the bomb things and posting, sharing my journey, sharing my life. And then I really don't sit down to focus on my business again till they go to bed. And I don't spend a ton of time in the evening, but that's when I check in with my groups. After I do my workout, I do my check-in myself. But I like to spend time, of course, loving on my challengers and my coaches and things at the end of the day, see what they did and encourage them. So I save that for the end of the day. And that is how I run my business now. It's looked different throughout different phases of pregnancy and newborns and working and not working. But I just want to stress that if you find time to do that Power every day and you find time to share your journey throughout whatever your schedule looks like and love on the people that you promise that this works, this snowballs in such an amazing way. So I am going to start with what I do after my personal development. So let's say 10 minutes of our power hour is done doing that. I'm going to try really hard to keep this to an hour, even though now we're technically 3 minutes late. So the first thing I do is I clear my inbox, because as I start sending out more messages, I've made the mistake one too many times that things get buried. And then I'm like, oh, shoot, this is from months ago and I missed it because it got buried. So let's spend 5 minutes. And if you have anything in your inbox, clear it out. And I'm just going to set a quick timer. And that could be I mostly use Facebook Messenger inbox. Could be using email or Instagram. Your direct messages in Instagram. Okay. All right. So the next thing I do is invite because it's my frog. I feel like it's everybody's frog. So let's just get it done. And on that same note of like, at least I got my power hour done by the end of the day. Sometimes, I'll be honest, it's at least I got my invites out. If my 2-year-old wakes up way earlier than planned and won't sit on the couch watch Mickey Mouse while I finish or whatever. So try to get all my invites out in 15 minutes. So this is when I like pumped up and I'm in the right mindset that I'm trying to help people. I'm not trying to find success club points, and I just rock it out. I use Teamzy to track, definitely have some sort of tracking system so the names pop up, and not every name it like warrants an invite at that point when I go back and look at what the conversation was, or maybe I don't feel like we're far enough into a formed relationship because again I've been doing this over 4 years, so I'm working with mostly a very cold market at this point. So that kind of depends on where you're at with your market. So 15 minutes. And the other thing, so I use Teamzy to track. I also use, and I picked this up from a National Wake Up Call, which I hope you girls watch or listen to every single week because I still don't miss one and I pull so many nuggets and put them into play. So I couldn't even tell you when, but somebody talked about a 10 in play list. So even though I have my Teamzy and the names automatically generate for me, I have my 10 in playlist. So it's the people who have been like on the fence forever, it feels like. And I know that eventually I'll get them to say yes, and they'll be the people who will thank me. That's always my mindset with my 10 in playlist. So if somebody says yes and comes off, or somebody says, leave me alone, which that's very rare with those people, they stay on the list. When somebody comes off, somebody new goes on the 10 in play. So at the beginning of the month, my 10 in play list is what I go to first to invite. So let's take 15 minutes and send out our invites. My goal is always 10 a day. Okay, so that was 15 minutes. Um, I got 8 invites out. So what I typically do is, since my goal is 10, is if I have time when I'm done doing everything else, I'll go back and invite 2 more people, or maybe at night I'll do it. This feels really weird for me doing this. I just didn't want to try to host this with my kids who are crazy. That's why I just picked this time slot, which is abnormal for my normal schedule. Um, However, I wanted to add, oh, no, where did my notes go? There we go. Um, just a couple, I know this has been said on other calls, but just to give little tips on where I find people to invite. Again, it's going to depend on if you're still in your warm market, if you're out of your warm market. I'm well out of my warm market, so I'm doing a lot of not cold messaging, but forming and reaching out to people who I have to get to know first. So I will find people from my TeamZ. My TeamZ is set up in such a way that it's mostly, when I'm inviting people, it's people who were on my personal Facebook page that I've kind of gotten to know when I was working more with my warmer market, or that I'd warmed up. More recently, I do more on Instagram now and Instagram stories. So I'm trying to mend the two together in terms of how I track and how I invite people. But I'll go through my posts from the day before and I'll look to see if anybody new has liked or commented. And if they have, then I'll try to start a conversation with them that hopefully down the road will lead to an invite. What we're going to do next is follow-ups for 5 minutes, and then I'm going to talk more about what I was just starting with in just a minute so that we stay on track. So 5 minutes of following up. So if you use a tracking system, what I do is if somebody gets an invite from me, I track it through my TeamZ, and then I tell TeamZ to remind me in 4 days to reach back out to that person because I will forget who I invited. And a lot of times those names pop up and I'm like, oh, well, they responded right away, or they hadn't responded. If they haven't responded at all, I'll send them another message and I'll say, I totally understand if you're not interested. I would love to know either way because I'm planning my challenge group and I like to keep a certain number of spots available so that I can best support people or something like that. Just to let them know. And a lot of times that's when people will respond. There is so much power in the follow-up because how many times do you read a message and you can't respond right in the moment and then it's gone out of sight, out of mind and they forget, or it just prompts them to give you a reason or at least a no thank you. So you have something to go on, something to it. Did you just forget to message me back? Are you not interested? Or the nice one is when they say, oh yeah, actually I've been meaning to talk to you, I just forgot. So definitely follow up with people. um, all right, so 5 minutes to do those follow-ups. Okay, one more thing I wanted to add. When I am doing my invites and starting new conversations, if messages pop up in that moment, I don't respond to them. And I know that's something that has also been said because it'll just sidetrack you. Okay, now we're going to focus on expanding our network because it's such an important part of what we do as network marketers, like it or not. So, couple things. If you're using your personal page on Facebook, I would recommend going into groups, finding friends that way, sending friend requests to people who are your avatar, friends of friends. I used to send out 5 new friend requests every day, but now I have switched over to using a business page full time. So what I do now is find followers through Instagram. So I have an ad running for likes to bring new people to my page on Facebook. I no longer friend anybody over there because I've already hit my 5,000 limit. So if you're using Instagram, I try to find 10 new people to follow a day. And I take about 10 minutes to do this. I use hashtags. I'm not going to go over all of that because I know there's a million trainings out there for that. So let's take 10 minutes to find new friends and followers. All right. Okay, so next, I check in with 3 coaches and 3 customers a day. So, monthly, depending on where I'm at in my group, of course, I'm always checking in with my challengers in the group every single day. But individually, I like to check in with everybody in one day who's in my current group every other week, and I do that on a certain day. But every day, I like to keep in touch with my customers on kind of a rotation and my coaches. So Teamsy makes that really easy because, again, they're all in there and they just pop up. And the 3, I just send them either a text if that's how we communicate, or a message, or a voice memo, or whatever, just checking in. So it's been really helpful to re engage people who maybe have fallen off and just kind of keep track of where everybody's at. So I only take 5 minutes to do this because they're all right there. So let's take 5 minutes and check in with some of your coaches and customers. The last thing I do is start 10 new convos. So these are people who I either reconnecting with that um, are on my Facebook or Instagram that I hadn't talked to in a long time, or people who have liked or commented on my posts from the previous day. So the first thing I do to find new people to talk to is I go look at my posts from the previous day. I look at everybody who liked it, and if they're not a challenger or a coach, I start a conversation as easy as saying, "Thanks so much for liking my post," and I'll relate something, some sort of question to the post to start a conversation that way. Or if they commented, of course, that makes it easier. And I comment back to every single comment and I tag whoever commented. And I try to take the conversation to a private message if it's somebody who is my avatar. So we're gonna take 10 minutes to do that, and then we're all done. All right. So I hope that was helpful for you girls, and that you got a lot. Oh no, bedtime. And that I don't know that you picked up some things that maybe you hadn't heard before. I'm sure a lot of it is pretty repetitive, but I'm glad you girls were here with me tonight. So thank you so much for being on live, and for those of you catching the recording, I hope this was helpful. You guys have any questions before we log off? Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Good luck to you girls. I wish you nothing but the best.
Awesome. Good night.
Good night.
Night.